Basketball movies.
I don't play defense.
Basketball is like poetry in motion.
Basketball movies are everywhere.
I'll make it.
White men can't jump.
Hustle, Rise, Space Jam, The Way Back, Jack Harlow being in the remake of White Men Can't Jump. Yeah, I don't know about that one either. But I had a thought. Are they all as terrible as everyone says? Do they deserve this horrible reputation that has always existed in the film community? So to answer this, I spent the last month doing a deep and challenging dive into the best and worst basketball movies. I will therefore break down what makes a basketball movie, the best, the worst, and finally, how 44 Clovers would make a basketball film. So what is a basketball movie? Sounds pretty self-explanatory, right? Absolutely not. There is a fine line between a true basketball movie and some other fake bullshit. Here are the rules. Firstly, the core focus of the movie has to be about basketball. Therefore, films like 17 Again, Finding Forrester, and Basketball do not count. Secondly, I'm only focusing on movies. While I love a lot of documentaries and TV shows, I will only talk about them a little bit. The Scalabrinis. I won't lie, there are so many shitty basketball movies that if I did them all, I would be here for 3 hours. Instead, I'm just going to do the most popular. These are the films that just have absolutely no love or passion behind them. So what are these films? 3 worst basketball movies I've ever seen are Thunderstruck, Space Jam: A New Legacy, and Like Mike. These films are just so bad, I'm embarrassed to say I paid $4.50 for them. The acting is atrocious, the stories are bland and uninspired, and even the basketball scenes feel fake in a basketball movie. They're so bland that I was even embarrassed to log them into Letterboxd and show other people that that is what I've been watching. And there's one more that I just didn't enjoy, and that came out in 2018, Amateur. Now this movie critically did really well, but for some reason, it just didn't land for me. It's not that any of the acting was that bad or it was as fake and shitty as the other ones. It just wasn't that interesting and I was spent the whole time kind of fucking bored. The Patrick Beverleys. Space Jam. Now I love this movie and it has a lot of nostalgia for me, as you can tell. But if you rewatch it, it's just not that great. It may bring back a lot of core memories for you, but as an actual film, it's just not that entertaining anymore. I do think Michael Jordan's performance in it is actually not that bad compared to a lot of other NBA players that we'll talk about soon. And now for another Stephen A. Smith super hot take.
Sign Lamar Odom, who was on crack!
White Men Can't Jump. This film was by far the biggest letdown. I had so much hype going into this and I really wanted to love it. But when I was watching this, I just didn't see the hype. It's just filled with people yelling and screaming at each other for 2.5 hours. The film goes for way too long. And while there are good basketball scenes in it, it just wasn't enough to make me put it in the best basketball movies. Here is my final Iguodala take.
I want Iguodala.
Hoosiers. I know it's the first, and it's the first one to ever do this formula, but looking back on it now, it's just so vanilla and bland. I think maybe I'm just too young for this film, and maybe if I watched it at the time, I would love it. I do believe Ginny Hackman, as always, is incredible and gives an amazing performance. But other than that, I didn't really love it. Some other basketball movies that are so average I can't even be bothered to talk about are Glory Road, Semi-Pro, Uncle Drew, and High Flying Bird. These films aren't terrible, and honestly they are entertaining, it's just that they're not amazing movies. I'm never going to put them in the best unless they are really, genuinely good movies. Jordans. Hustle. Now I know it only came out this year, but this movie bangs. It was so entertaining, was well written, and really well performed. Adam Sandler was great in this film and shows you how charismatic and talented an actor he is. I also think this film just had a deep passion and love for basketball. You could see how much the writers and creators love this game. Through all the different characters and players and history of it, it was perfect. Above the Rim. I did not expect to love this movie as much as I did. And honestly, I hadn't even heard of it until I started researching basketball films. It was just really entertaining with strong characters that kept me glued to the screen the whole time. While the film didn't take too many twists and had some big plot holes in it, I still really loved it and felt it holds up very well. Also, the soundtrack in this film is incredible. It's one of the best basketball movie soundtracks ever. Coach Carter.
Give up, Mr. Cruz.
Now this is the classic. This is what everyone thinks of when they hear basketball film. And I understand that. It's a great movie. Samuel L. Jackson carries this film with his performance. There's just a really strong focus on the characters in this film. Everyone in their team feels like they get their whole character arc, which is such a hard thing to accomplish. The Way Back. This movie surprised me as well. It was actually a very solid character-driven movie that once again just stood out from everything else. And that just came down to the writing. It was one of the few basketball movies that was actually well written and felt realistic and authentic. Love and Basketball. I fucking loved this movie. While the runtime was really long, it just didn't feel like it at all. I think Monica was a really strong and smart character that I hadn't seen in that many of these type of films. And now for the best basketball movie. My favorite one ever made. But first, I just want to quickly highlight some documentaries. Last Dance, Hoop Dreams, The Carter Effect, and Iverson. Hoop Dreams is just one of the best documentaries I have ever seen and probably the best piece of basketball entertainment ever made. And Last Dance is just gripping from the first episode, as we all saw on Netflix. But now for the best basketball movie ever made, He Got Game. This is by far the best basketball movie. I haven't seen all of Spike Lee's films, but I loved the style of this film. It was just a refreshing look at the dark side of basketball, fame, and materialism. Denzel was obviously amazing, but Ray Allen was really surprising to me. He was genuinely a good actor, and I'm surprised I haven't seen him do more. It was just on another level compared to all the other basketball films in terms of shooting, script, and acting. So since I just bagged about every basketball movie ever made, how would we make one? Well, it can't be about some underdog star or team. It's got to be about something new. Instead, I want to focus on an athlete's rise to fame and ultimate downfall. I want to focus on how being a famous athlete and money can quickly make someone lose their mind. Best sports movies are about something more than the sport. Think of Raging Bull or Boogie Nights, but instead replace it with basketball. I just want to see the dark side of NBA and fame. Basketball movies have just been done in the same way over and over and over again. And I think this type of film would be something new and refreshing that we need in these films. If you like this video, consider subscribing or checking out our website for more interviews, short films, and reviews.